Informative, educational, objective, inclusive, comprehensive. This is Progress Report. Updates and conversations from the Government Information Service.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Progress Report. My name is Ivan Khanna. This is my lovely co-host Gleneva Hodge. I think you all know us very well now. This is episode 19.
Oh, I stopped counting.
You stopped counting. The season has 26 episodes. We have a few more lined up for you, and then we'll take a short break to Fete Spree.
That's right.
And the scene, what carnival's thing name?
Boats, beaches.
Boats, beach and Bacchanal.
That's right.
Boats, beach and Bacchanal. We're going to do some of that for the summer. So we take a little break there. I think everybody deserves a break, to be entirely honest. It's been an interesting 3 years. I can go. It's been an interesting 5 years.
I don't know.
I don't know how long it's been going on, but we've had COVID to deal with. We've had the war in Ukraine. We've had so much things on the ground, and it seems like a lot has been coming up against us and towards us, and we're jumping through these hoops. And my mind can't help to go back to the episode with Dr. Olafumike Banks Devonish, with the stresses that we're going through. So before we get into anything, I just want to say, take some time for you. I would never forget the moment of mindfulness.
That's right.
Take 3 minutes, go look at the clouds, breathe, do what you gotta do to manage the stress, because trust me, I know everybody's under a bit of stress.
You're gonna take 3 minutes to breathe?
Yeah. It works. It works. And that voice that you heard is the chairman of the Water Corporation of Anguilla, Mr. Kennedy Hodge, and he's our guest this afternoon. As a matter of fact, with all that's going on with the water right now, I think I want to take 3 minutes to breathe. So over to you, Gleneva.
All right. So again, welcome to Progress Report. This is another episode, like you said. I think you said we're at episode 19. And so today we welcome Mr. Kennedy Hodge, my chairperson on the Water Corporation of Anguilla's board. And I say my chairperson because in the previous episode I would have said, when speaking with the Minister, Honorable Mr. Hayden Hughes, that I am also on the water board as deputy chairperson. So today I'm going to be wearing a little bit of two hats. You know, I'm going to be co-host, and I'm also here to support Mr. Hodge and our discussions as we address what's going on with water. And I think there is no secret that water has been facing a number of challenges. What may be a secret is how we've gotten here, what the behind the scenes work looks like. But for the general public has been feeling the woes of the Water Corporation. And they are on the front line of feeling what that is. And so we are going to get into those conversations today. We are going to be speaking about what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen. I think that kind of sums it up. Is that right, Mr. Hodge?
Yes, of course.
So since you're wearing two hats and you're in a duplicitous role today, I want to start with the basic question. Why so much leaks? Why so much outages? Why so many people complaining about no water in their lines?
It all comes back, Ivan, to one problem: the quality of the pipes that are buried in the ground. I was on Keystone Graves this lunchtime today, and as I explained, the pipes that form the core of the network, the bulk of the network, were given by European Union under a European Union aid program. And it is my understanding that the batch of pipes that we got was a defective batch. There was a manufacturing issue, and it so happened that Anguilla got that batch of pipes. That in other words, the pipes are not as strong. The walls of the pipes, in terms of taking the pressure of the water, not as strong as it should be. The pipe isn't as strong, and so when you get the pressure from tanks 200 feet up in the air, because the tanks are, on the hill, and they're 200 feet up, and then the tanks themselves add another 20 feet. When the tanks are full or above half full, they exert a tremendous pressure on the pipes running down the hills and across the island. And people also don't understand, people often wouldn't understand that when water is off, if water goes off because, for example, the plant supplying the water has a failure, or there's a leak somewhere so the water is turned off, when you turn the water back on, the water hits the pipe with a force.
Right.
And the pipes actually jump about under the ground with the force of the water. The pipes prance under the ground. And so if the pipes themselves are defective in terms of being able to handle the pressure, they'll burst, leaks will pop out. And then secondly, is the way the pipes were laid.
Okay.
But before anybody starts to blame anybody about the way the pipes were laid, understand that the Water Corporation started out life back in the 70s and 80s as a little department of public works. And the expansion to an island-wide network, semi-island-wide, because the water pipe network actually only reaches to about half of the island.
Right.
So understand that when I say the island-wide network, I'm saying it in general. And the pipes to keep expanding the network, there was never a project. There was never a $50 million or a $30 million or a $100 million project to put in a water system in Anguilla. It was a water department with a aid provided water engineer from the UK. You knew the guy, but I can't remember his name. And Romel Hughes was trained as a water engineer. Then he went off to England and did his master's, I think it was. And then he came back and then he took over from the UK engineer. That's from memory. I could be slightly off, but that's generally what happened. And so they managed to get the system expanded and expanded and expanded, mostly with aid money. I think UK aid built the big concrete tank that's on the hill and stuff like that. But it was ad hoc and it was step by step by step. And there wasn't money to lay a proper pipe network.
Okay.
And so what would happen, you know what Anguilla's soil is like, it even their soil is rock.
Yeah.
And so
Sharp rock.
Sharp rock. So you're chiseling out trenches in this sharp rock. You're supposed to lay the pipes in a bed of sand or sifted soil so there's no rocks in it. And then you're supposed to cover the pipes with the same sand or sifted soil. Well, there wasn't money for that. So the pipes were laid direct on the sharp rock. You know, when a jackhammer is chiseling out rocks, it ain't gonna chisel as smooth like this tabletop.
Yeah.
You're gonna have sharp jags sticking up. It's going to be unlevel. The pipe is going to sag and up again. And when it comes up again, it may come up against a sharp piece of rock. And then they would they would cover back the trench with the same sharp rock that was excavated out of the trench. So you're pushing this all back on top of the pipes. It's going down between the side of the trench and the pipe. You could get a sharp rock that jams between the side of the rock wall of the trench and then right up against the pipe. And then when the pipe jumps under the pressure of water, it's like jackhammering a hole into the pipe.
I went out with Mr. Anthony when he was the farmer CEO. I used to go in and take 1 or 2 pictures, and I did some work for water. And I still have the pictures where he showed me. Some of them are like a pinhole, but you can see them. And then some are just like pin size, but long cracks that
yes.
that you see. And this happens pretty much everywhere across the island.
and pretty much every day.
So hold on, sorry, I don't want to do this. So you mean like the network is continuing or has been failing every day from inception?
Yes.
So I think what we're seeing is a combination of factors. So you had a need for water, if I may. There was a need for water and for getting water across. There was some monies available to get some piping in, but not enough to do it properly.
Precisely.
But we couldn't hold off from doing it properly because there was a need to get water. So you have those pipes put in, they weren't bedded properly. And on top of that, you also had pipes themselves that were defective. So it's you're starting to see a pile-on, so to speak.
Pile-on is a perfect word for it.
Yes, of problems. And I think in order to understand where we are today, we have to understand, and I appreciate that background that Mr. Hodge gave, how we got here, and that it isn't anyone's fault necessarily. As to
it was
some
you
of
had
those,
to do, you had to make do with what you had, and you knew that it was going to cause problems down the road. But by then, you figured you might get more money to rectify it.
So, what's stopping us from, outside of money, from putting in a brand new pipe network on the ground?
What's stopping us outside of money? Money.
that is the reality.
Well, I figure when he said outside of money, he meant EC dollars, so I was saying US dollars. Isn't that the same?
That is it.
Yeah.
It's not for lack of
anything else.
Anything else. It's not for lack of knowledge. It's not for lack of expertise. It's not for lack of know-how.
Now, when you come to lack of knowledge, here is where sometimes things go difficult. Remember in the Bible, the Egyptians told the children of Israel when they were their slaves, they had to meet a quota of making bricks.
Yeah.
And the idea wasn't just for the Egyptians to get bricks. It was the idea to punish them, make them suffer while they were doing it. And then the Israelites managed to make the bricks, so then they made the task harder. They made the bricks, you had to still meet the quota, but we were not providing the straw. You had to go and get the straw yourself. So making bricks without straw. And so what has been happening is you get leaders say, oh, tell those Israelites to make the bricks and they got to find their own straw. We had leaders who said, look, this thing of having the water turned off is inconvenient. We want water 24/7.
That thing.
Now here's the thing. I do not want to be seen to be attacking anybody. I can understand a leader saying, we really want the water on 24/7. It's not an abnormal thing to want. But here's the problem. The network could not sustain water 24/7 because we just spoke about the pipes. You said you saw some of the cracks and pinholes yourself. So here it is that you got a pinhole that ain't quite reached through, but it's there. Stone give you a little pinhole. But now when you jack the water pressure up, it busts through because it doesn't have the whole wall of the pipe stopping it. It's only got half of the wall because the pinhole has gone halfway through. So it busts. Or there was another aspect too of the piping of the bedding. They used the backhoe, the hole at the back of the backhoe. They used it to slap the pipes in to each other.
Stop playing.
No.
Stop playing.
No.
No,
You
stop
had
playing.
you had the spigot and the socket in.
Yes.
So to get it in, those pipes are big and heavy.
I understand that.
You can't
can't
take
just
it
go
in
in
and go and push it in with your hand like you would do a piece, a half-inch or 3/4 inch pipe
But
at
the
your house.
backhoe is gonna break it.
Well, this is what happened. The backhoe,
This is what happened.
but yes, the backhoe, even if it didn't break the end that it was hitting,
Yeah, it broke the.
it might force a little. It might be just right for one. Another one, it might force the thing in so far that it splits the spigot. It's the socket. It splits the socket. Now another leak, and nobody will ever see it because it's being covered back with dirt. And not only that, when you hit in this one, the one that's already buried 2 or 3 lengths of road is still getting some of the force. So if 1, 2, or 3 lengths further up was already at the maximum point of the socket, and it gets just another little bit of pressure, it's bust the socket.
Have we stopped hitting the back? Have we stopped hitting the pipe?
Well, we haven't been burying
Yeah,
much
but-
pipe lately, but yes, you stopped that.
Okay.
But so getting back now, I'm saying that we had leadership saying water 24/7. Now to get the water 24/7, here's how the thing works: the reverse osmosis plant down at Crocus Bay, seawater, converts seawater into fresh water. It provides about 90% of the water. So the water is pumped up the hill, up Crocus Hill, and into the tank. And all day long, people are using water. So the plant is pumping water, and people are drawing off water. So the water kind of stays level in the tank at about halfway up, a third of the way up. But when night comes, people go to bed.
Yeah.
The plant is still pumping water. If it didn't pump water, the next day you wouldn't have enough water,
Right.
because we can't pump water fast enough. So the plant is pumping water all night. Now people are asleep, so the tank level is rising. People are not using the water, they're asleep. So the tank level, and when the tank level gets to a certain height, the pressure on the pipes, because
The pressure
is going out into the pipes.
Right.
Right.
So what? When you didn't have water 24/7, what was happening is the water was being turned off at the tanks to prevent this big head of water from busting the pipes. So you get the thing saying, water 24/7. Don't turn the water off. So the water wasn't turned off, and the tank full of water, and then the pipes began busting. But everybody was still getting water, unless the leak was so bad that the water ran out so fast. People were getting water all night long, water 24/7, but we were wrecking the pipe network. We were destroying it. Now, because of that, the West, Gleneva lives in Long Bay. Gleneva, you haven't had water for over a
About
month?
6 weeks.
6 weeks now.
6 weeks. I've not had
And
water.
here's the worst part. The 2 ministers of infrastructure, the past one and the present one, are from the same South Hill, Blind Point area, South Hill area. And so the water 24/7 leader has created a situation where there's water 0-0. It isn't because anything that's happened, no. It's this water 24/7 busts up the pipes. And here's the problem: when there is a leak in the west, the water has to be turned off at South Hill.
Yes.
So even if there's a fault, leak in Long Bay,
Water off in
West
South
End,
Hill.
the water is off. So poor old South Hill is off with every leak.
and it has not stopped leaking in the west, if we're being honest.
No.
No, because
And-
as they fix a leak,
One more coming.
another one discover another one.
Before they can fix
Fix
it.
it,
And
yeah,
I
another
think
one.
that is something that, if you look, the guys are on the road all the time.
Right.
And one of the things that the engineer, when she came in and she spoke to us, they will detect a leak lower South Hill. They'll get water to come all the way down, and then they'll realize, okay, it's not going any further. And they have to retrace their steps and go all the way back up and do leak detection again from the plant, come straight back west to figure out where that leak is happening.
This another leak.
So imagine
South Hill gets off again.
And South Hill goes off again. Now imagine me, because we've spoken about this. The way that the water runs and how water gets into the pipelines is by gravity, by force. So for the most part, heading west is downhill. So gravity, the way that gravity works, water is just going to be going down. But if you need a little incline, like to come into Long Bay,
The pressure gotta be right.
the pressure has to be right. So there's been water at certain points, and not everybody in Long Bay, West End, haven't gotten water. So I think some persons...
Those that are down at the lowest levels where the gravity will bring the water will get some water.
Right.
And not only that, the volume of space inside those pipes, some of those pipes are 12 inches in diameter. Some are 9, some are 8, that kind of stuff. The volume of water in those pipes is not a tank of water, you know. Not 2 tanks of water. Consider 12-inch pipe running miles in all sorts of different directions. There's a lot of gallons of water in the pipes.
So where these gallons of water going in the ground?
They're going into the ground. But so when the water leaks out,
What is the percentage, Mr. Hodge, of water?
83% of the water that we're paying the reverse osmosis plant at Crocus Bay about $7 million EC a year for water. And 83% of that water is
I
lost.
need a calculator.
This is your walking
This is my
calculator.
walking
right
calculator.
now.
7 8
I'll
are
tell you.
56.
See? I'll tell
So
you.
$5.6 million.
$5.6 million.
And so and it's
wasted.
83, so it's not just 8, it's 7 by 8.3. So you could say $6 million of the $7 million actually goes into the ground. The only good thing is it's probably filling back up the aquifer.
No, we ain't gonna make so light of this. No. Here's why we're not gonna make so light of this, because
Yeah.
I have a problem with $6 million going into the ground and water being unable to get water to the homes of people as well as pay their bills. Specifically to Angleg. If
Well, when you brought up another point, and I think it needs that, it's not just $6 million gone, because that $6 million is just to the plant.
Yes.
We have to, the contract, reverse osmosis plant operators, they don't include electricity. And reverse osmosis works is very energy intensive.
It is.
For the high school kids who are paying attention, you learned osmosis in school. Osmosis happens naturally without any extra force. But this is reverse osmosis.
Yeah,
It requires
force
high pressure pumps. You're trying to do osmosis in the reverse direction. It needs very high pressure pumps to do that. So they're very, very energy intensive.
I've visited the plant.
Right.
Yeah.
So the $7 million of water that's produced also costs an additional between $4 million a year last year, but now it's going to be about 6, 7. Now the last bill was 440,000.
Yeah.
So if you multiply
Just for the
that
month.
by 12, 450 by 12 is going to be 6 million. You're close to $6 million.
And again, we just learned of the increase the fuel surcharge.
Right, that's a whole other story again.
That's-
It's going to
that's
go
just
to
put
about
out, so
8
it's-
million,
yeah.
9 million. So what I'm saying is that the $6 million in water that's lost, the 83%, there's also 83% of the electricity that is required to make that water. So 83% of 4 million, 4 8, so it was 3 million, and now it's going to be more like 4 million.
$10 million.
So $10 million is lost every
annually.
Yes,
I'm
annually.
taking my walking
And our
calculator.
revenues is only 9 million.
So
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. I
if you
just
don't
want
laugh, you'll cry.
No, I want people to understand what Josh said. For the layman terms, as clear as day. We ain't doing the millions, because the millions might scare some people.
No, do it.
Do the millions.
Do it in
Do the
minutes.
millions.
As it's as simple as
You make $9 million a year
in revenue.
in
Yes.
revenue.
Yes.
That's your revenue. You lose 10 million
And just
a year
losses of the water.
in just losses of the water that you produce it to try and sell to make money.
So you're losing. So you're losing more than you're making.
You lose more than you make in a year. How?
Well, Ivan, before we we just explained how. Because
So
the
how-
network is so deficient, so defective. The only way of resolving this situation is to dig the whole thing up and put it in properly.
That's $70 million.
It's 20 million US dollars, which was a report written by a firm, a consultant who did a firm called Hismar, 2019. Since then, the price of the pipe has probably gone up 50%. The price of the diesel that the backhoes, you would need the backhoes to dig the trenches and so on, has gone up 50%. The price of the backhoes themselves has gone up 20-30%. The price of the operators to operate the backhoes has gone up 20-30%. So the 20 million might well be 30 million. No.
So,
And that's just for the existing network, which only reaches half of the island. You still want to expand to the other half.
because I would imagine that you would want more people on.
Well, if we had, we actually used to have more people on. We used to have
About 5,000.
the galvanized 5,000. We got 2,500 customers now. We used to have about 5,000 because we used to feed the people with the network the plastic pipes. We didn't have trenches. You would lay galvanized pipes on top of the ground because you couldn't bust the galvanized pipes. But reverse osmosis water is deionized water, and it's, remember the engineer told us it's called aggressive water. Because to get the salt out of it, you're deionizing it, and when you when it hits the pipes, it's looking for ions to restore itself to its natural.
That's cool though. I think that's pretty dope.
It is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So what it does is it draws
So
it
it
out
draws
of
the stuff out of the metal. So the metal rusts at a
That's-
speed.
That's crazy.
Yes.
So-
that's why reverse osmosis water has been supplied in plastic pipes.
Jesus Lord. Hold on. This thing is really
Right. So to try to make a complex situation oversimplified becomes a problem. And so it is important that we get all of these nuanced situations and understand them. Because understanding why we are only at half of, well, even that half is probably less now. Because
Yeah.
if we're not going to be supplying water,
We have to supply water to the western end of the island for 6 weeks now.
if you're not supplying water on a consistent basis, you're going to lose your customers. But even before that, you lost half of your customer base simply because we didn't have the plastic pipes to put in place to get water to them.
To get water. Because you had to bury it. You can't leave plastic pipes above the ground.
Oh, sun, everything
Yeah,
out here.
yeah, right.
everybody
A car, a
around.
cow foot, everything. Yeah.
So, but then that poses a problem because if there's one thing I know about Angola, people, they don't want you digging up them land.
No. If we come with a proper project, I mean, Cable and Wireless. Look, I was the head of engineering at Cable and Wireless for quite a number of years, and we got Cable and Wireless has pipes underground network across the entire Angola. It's not a problem. The Water Corporation, where it has its existing network, hasn't had a problem. The problem, it was money to get everywhere. There are people who are in fact in Shoal Bay, we actually had the people come together and paid for the line.
Yeah. I know there are persons who've paid.
Yeah.
Who've paid for the line.
I'm not talking about line to their house, I'm talking about the line to go to their village. They've gotten together and everybody paid an amount and we put the line in.
I will say though, there may have been one or two situations, a couple, maybe a little handful more than one or two, where to get to a home, I can think of at least one person, the persons didn't want them crossing it.
Yeah, it's happened. but
It's
yeah.
happened. It's not.
Yes, it's not a consideration that we would take
Yes.
for a whole project. I mean,
Right.
there are one or two. I could tell you again with Cable and Wireless, Cable and Wireless had to take down. I was the head of engineering, and we put up an entire. This is before we went underground in Shoal Bay. We put up an entire pole route from the Shoal Bay roundabout right through to Uncle Lorna's and Shoal Bay. And when we were digging the last pole hole, the landowner, along most of the route, their phone got cut for non-payment of the bill. Now it wasn't that they never used to pay their bill or they were hard paying. It's just that they might have forgotten or whatever, and the phone got cut. And in those days, the company suggests, is it 29th of the month?
Automatic.
Yeah, it's cut.
I know different than today.
Somebody probably had to do it
No,
then.
no.
This time. No, it's just automatic.
at 9:30, you got barred from making
Midnight.
calls.
Yeah.
But at least it didn't cut completely. But that was the old mechanical system. Didn't have the computer control. So we actually had to climb up on a thing and pull out the fuses to the lines.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So you got cut. And the landowner came in screaming. take your poles of our land. Now, there's such a thing called a right of way. They did sign right of way and all that kind of stuff when they were by the roadside. But to avoid confusion, we took the entire route down and moved it to the other side of the road. And it took Sholby another month to get phones, but they got the phones. And then the landowner came in and apologized. Said they were angry because it cost us about $70,000-$80,000 to redo, or maybe $100,000 to redo the whole thing. But what I'm saying is that ain't the general picture of what happens. You know, basically we'll get it in if we had the money.
And that comes back to
where can we get the money?
Well, to do the whole thing, because you can't just fix what you got. You got to get back to the people who had piping before that you took it out. Even if you buy galvanized piping and put it back in, which maybe it might have made more economic sense, because in calculating the finances of a problem, you have to look at both sides. So if we take these pipes out and simply leave them out and lose the customers, we lose $5 million in revenue. If we replace the pipe, even if it's only going to last 3 years, we make $15 million in revenue. We replace the pipes.
So, but
that never happened because there was no money to buy the pipes with.
Jesus, I'm bread.
Yeah.
I think it is, if I may, it speaks to, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but it speaks to, from my perspective, and this is me, outside of Progress Report, outside of the board. This is me. No, but it speaks to me to either a lack of awareness, understanding, and appreciation for how important it is to get water to persons in a reliable fashion. Because I think everybody wants to say that we're getting water because that was the push. We wanted to get water 24/7 because we understand the need to get water to persons 24/7. But we didn't dig a little bit deeper to understand what that truly requires. And if we don't dig a little deeper to understand what that truly requires, this is how you end up compounding issues upon issues. And this is where we are at. And until somebody, and this is me, resident of Langway, who has not gotten water in 6 weeks. This is me, the person who has spoken to numerous persons on this island who don't have cisterns. So while I may not have gotten water for 6 weeks, I understand that I am in a privileged position, that I have a cistern. I can get a water truck to come to me. There are persons without cisterns who don't have access to water. And access to water is a basic human right.
Indeed.
And until we really sit and see, this is priority.
Now here's the thing. It's very unfortunate. We will have suffered from the UK leaving the European Union in ways that people would never understand.
I think I heard you say that before.
Yes. For example, the European Union, they would not, under their own rules, would not have been able to allow Anguilla not to have water. So the money they would have provided, they would have made the funding available in a hurry. Now, they actually have rules, and it's rules for the laws governing the regions. You know, for example, that since Sabre and Statia became part of Holland, they have to receive the exact same standard of services that you get in Holland. So we wouldn't have been part of the UK, but we would still have been a UK. We had EU passports, so we would have been virtually compelled to have provided funding for us to fix this problem.
Grants, fellowships, all these other ways that you can get money. Any of these things have been explored, or we can't explore them?
No, but that would be now that the issue has sort of come to the front burner. But and speaking about the issue coming to the front burner, again, I mentioned on Keystone Graves at lunchtime today, what completely bemuses me is that when Hurricane Irma hit, it took down Anglic's entire virtually the entire network. And money was poured in. I think it was about $20-30 million. I don't have the report in front of me, but it was a lot of money. British government, Canada gave something, I think, and so on, to restore the network. They also had insurance to restore the network. And the Water Corporation lost, they might have gotten vehicles, government got vehicles. Water Corporation got nothing.
I think they were promised a few. I think they asked for 5, promised 3, got none.
Got none. Now here, the Water Corporation, these people who are out there hunting for these don't even have a vehicle to drive half the time, you know. The vehicles are being kept going by shoestring and duct tape. Literally.
Ivan, let me tell you, the stories that the workers from the Water Corporation of Anguilla have. My heart goes out to them every single day. Because I don't think that they're appreciated enough for the work that they do. To get the leak detection, they literally have to listen.
Yeah.
You can't listen because the pipes are alongside busy main roads.
So they have to do it in the night.
They're walking, so they're walking in the day, they're walking in the night.
And it's only one team. So
And they're walking in vehicles that consistently break down on them. I think at one point one of the vehicles caught fire.
yes, one caught fire.
I'm not being,
Half of the vehicles are more than 15 years old, approaching 20, and all of them except one. The one that is new, I think we had to buy that as part of the contract with the Seaway to provide them with a vehicle. So that's the newish vehicle is about 3 years old.
And that vehicle isn't fit for purpose for the field.
Right, it's not fit for purpose of the field, let's say, you know. And so all the other vehicles are over 7, half of them are more than 15 years old. We've had the mechanic who's been working on them for a lot of the past years. The kind of jerry rigs and Jimmy fixes he has done, they're not even like he's converted automatics into standards, all kind of stuff.
Stop playing.
No,
this
I'm not
No.
kidding you. Because he could find an old transmission somewhere through down that could fit in that particular model of Jeep, and it was a standard, and the Jeep was an automatic. So he's stuck in a.
So Water Corporation, you have the talent in house, the brains, the expertise. Enough of it, outside of the entire board, enough of it is sitting right here to the right of me. Can't you guys jump on some grants for those electric vehicles?
No, well, it would have to be the government that would have to do that. So that's what I'm saying, that it's now bubbled to the surface. It should have bubbled to the surface after Hurricane Irma. That's the point I'm making. That we actually lost a complete tank, multi-million-dollar tank, and never even got the tank replaced. But Anguilla got their stuff replaced. We had to buy a tank ourselves by taking a loan from Acidco and the reverse osmosis plant company. They funded the other tank. They funded tanks. And even when the contract is up, the 10-year contract, we have to pay them $1 million for the tanks.
Hold on, man.
Yes.
Hold on.
So what I'm saying is, at the very least, the tanks should have been part of the hurricane
I
relief.
agree.
Vehicles should have been part of the hurricane relief.
I agree.
And so on. And
So
how
wait,
that
wait.
didn't happen, and this was in 2017, heading into 2018. How that was just so totally ignored. Not even a vehicle, when that was an opportunity to get 4 or 5 Jeeps from the UK. You see all these vehicles driving around donated by the UK? Gifted. Not one for the Water Corporation. This is 2017, 2018, so I don't want to hear no politics about it. It's simply, no, they weren't paying attention
And that is
to it.
And that is
Wait.
exactly what I was saying, where it has not been a priority enough outside of, and I know Mr. Hart said he doesn't want to bring politics into it, but the reality is it has not been a priority outside of a political gimmick.
Yeah.
And I say this again, I tell you all, I'm wearing several hats and several seats. I say this as someone who has not had water for 6 weeks. I say this as someone who knows of several people who don't have water.
And they don't have any water at all because they
At
have
all.
no systems.
And so, for a political gimmick,
24/7.
24/7 water, instead of we coming out and saying to the people, you deserve 24/7 water. Because that is undeniable. We deserve 24/7 water. But given the state and situation that our infrastructure is in, we cannot give you 24/7 water. If we give you 24/7 water today, in 2 to 3 years, the result of that will be zero water. And that is what we're dealing with today. Zero water today. Don't let anyone fool you about zero water today is as a result of Anglic not being paid. That was one day.
That was one day.
One day.
And that only happened because the generator failed on startup. There was a leak. The generator fuel pump had a leak.
Okay.
Or water pump had a leak.
And that was one day. Like I said, there are persons on this island who have not gotten water for about 6 weeks now.
That's beyond dismal. That is treacherous. But I want to go back to something that you said. So we're paying this company that runs the reverse osmosis plant. They have a contract for 10 years. And we lose based on the production, based on our network, based on all the faults. We lose
83% of the water.
83% of the water
that they produce.
To both leakage and I think
There's some theft, but the theft ain't-
leakage and theft.
And
Leakage
but the
and
theft ain't gonna rise to that kind of level. It's
No.
a leak. Because, okay, let me explain. When you sudden leaks you get, the guys, the staff become aware of it because the tank level drops from 16 feet to 7 feet in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Now nobody can steal that amount of water in 20 minutes. You know, it's primarily leaks, but there is some theft.
Yes.
So okay, getting back to this thing first. So this company, this contract that we have, and I say we as in Angola because Water Corporation belongs to Angola.
Because we the people pay for it.
We the people pay for it.
One way or the other.
You best believe that. So we are paying, let's say $7 million. No, we're paying $10 million for nothing. For 10 years, 10 times 10.
It's 100 million.
$100 million. And to add insult to injury, after that you're gonna say give me $1 million more for the tank.
Million US.
$1 million US. We're losing 100 million EC.
Right.
And we're gonna lose another $1 million US. So another 2.68 million EC. I think that's a problem.
It is a problem.
So let me get to where I'm getting to with this. Has anybody revisited the contract and say, hey,
No, you can't really revisit the contract, not without the other party. And it's not an unreasonable contract. The bit about the tank, yes, I have concerns. But the actual water production part of the contract is not unreasonable.
I don't think that I don't have a problem with that part. It's doing what it's done. Like I said, it's the plant is functioning. You
We also don't want to issue, Ivan, cutting you off a little. We don't want to issue of what has happened in the past.
Remember one of the
I don't know what happened.
One of the boards was caught up for years fighting legal battles and battles with plants and.
But not only that, we had a company in place, and that contract was ended prematurely. And had to be paid out.
No, I ain't saying to end the car. I say come back to the table.
So I don't think we want to go, because again, by ending prematurely, I am putting this on the table. I am putting this on the table. By ending prematurely, when we just said the people of Angola will have to pay for it. Because you don't just end a contract prematurely and walk away from it and go.
But the thing is, not only that won't solve the problem, you're still losing the 83% of the water.
I understand.
Yes.
So this is what I'm getting to. This is what I'm getting to, because I'm not saying end of the contract. I am not saying I don't believe that you gotta walk away from your commitments and that type of stuff. What I'm saying is, At the end of the day, it's another human on the opposite end of the table. Have we approached them and said, listen here, we're not trying to change the terms of the arrangement and move the goalposts during the game, but our struggles are real. What resources can you lend to improve the delivery of water? When I say lend, this company is making all this money from Anguilla. Good corporate citizen, I would want to believe. Can they say we put $100,000 into the Western area and we do a better pipe there?
Well, it would take more like $5 million.
Oh, Jesus, he looked after the
but,
land. He spoke to the floor. He spoke to the floor, ladies and gentlemen.
It would take
my God.
It would take more like $5 million.
Yeah, but we're not going to get $5 million.
No, but they might. But
They might?
They might. But the point is that it don't work that way because the shareholder, remember, it will be debt that goes to, remember, the shareholder is the government of Anguilla. The company is 100% owned by the government of Anguilla. Any debt that the company incurs has to be approved by the UK government.
Right,
and it goes on to the debt ceiling. So I can't see that happening.
No.
And plus, if that's going to happen, then you might get the money cheaper from somewhere else because their cost of funds would be more in the 8, 9, 10%, and we would be able to get money from the Caribbean Development Bank at 1.5%, 2%. So
but we're not in a position to borrow, so we're screwed anyway.
that's what I'm saying. But however is lent is borrowing.
Yeah.
So we are humbugged. You stick with screwed, I would say humbugged.
You're quite a comedian.
Yes.
There are ways forward.
What are the ways forward?
Right. There are ways forward.
So we've spoken about what has happened.
Yeah, we ain't
What
stick
is-
too much as what is happening. I ain't want to touch what is happening. I'll get back to what is
Everybody knows what is happening. We're all feeling what is happening.
Well, while we're on what is happening, though, I think it's important for people to understand how the arrears with Anglic came about, because that's another political football. Understand that
Soccer ball or football?
Either which way is being kicked around.
It's
Right.
kicked around. Okay, it tossed around. Okay.
understand that the Water Corporation owes Anglic about 12 and a half. It'll be another. The next bill come out in the next couple of days.
It's 13
week
million.
is 13
Yeah,
million,
because
right?
if the bills are about $500,000, just under
Right.
$500,000
Yeah, right.
every month.
So have you been paying your current bills?
No, we can't. We just explained
Sorry.
that.
Don't do that to me. Mr. Ashley has stepped. Near jumped over the table. I know we just explained we don't got no money.
Right.
I apologize.
We have been trying.
We have been making, for example, out of the current bill. When I say current bill, I want our listeners to understand, I'm not meaning the electricity bill, the current meaning electricity. I'm meaning the bill that's now. The immediate bill, we can only make, to bring it down to monthly terms, we may make $800,000 EC gross revenue. We may pay $580,000 to the reverse osmosis plant. Call it $600,000 for ease of calculation. So you made $800,000. You've paid out $600,000 to the plant. You've got an electricity. You only got $200,000 left. You ain't pay the staff yet. You ain't pay for your vehicles running up and down. You ain't pay for no gas. You ain't pay your phone bills, your utility, your other bills. You ain't pay your lease. You ain't pay nothing. Right.
So you have
You have
$200,000
$200,000 left, and an electricity bill comes in for $350,000. Now it's up to $450,000. But last year it was mostly in the region of $300,000 to $350,000. So let's say $350,000. The most you could pay is $100,000 because you got to pay your staff. And so now there's $250,000 going on to the arrears. Because Anglic said to us, well, why don't you just pay your current bill
and then keep paying
down? And I told the CEO directly, and this was before Sutcliffe. So it's Anglic. It's not a person. It's Anglic. They've been after us about this. I've had meetings with the previous acting CEO, Peter Lamontagne, and I said, Peter, the truth is, and he had his accounting clerk with him, I think Joya, and I said, Peter, we don't make enough money to cover the current electricity bill. So that's why we haven't entered into an agreement with you, because the agreement requires that you pay the current bill on time and something on your arrears. I said, we cannot meet even the current bill. And that cannot change until the network is expanded, that we get more customers on board. It cannot change. Well, there's a way of changing it. One is, because reverse osmosis plants are so energy intensive, just put in a renewable energy plant. It'll pay for itself inside of 2 years.
Right.
And I mean it because right now, our electricity bill would be 1.8 million EC a year. Let's say 1.5 million for ease of calculation, which is 1.5 million US. I'm saying 1.5 million US, which is 4 million EC. And in 2 years, that's 8 million EC. A renewable energy plant would cost 3 million US or less. So in other words, 8 million EC, 3 million US, it would pay for itself in no more than 2 years.
And then we go pay half Anglic with the rest. And then we're making profit.
Yes.
And then we could expand the network.
Yes.
And then we could fix the leak.
Yes. And there are other steps as well. And,
Yes.
you know, so the thing is, we have a long-term type plan. But that long-term plan, when I say long-term, I mean it can be immediate. It'll take a year or two to implement. And
Why would it take a year? Well, you're not talking about the plan.
No, we're just talking in
The
general,
solar
the
plan, the
entire-
renewable energy plan can be done in 3 to 6 months. Once you get the funding for it. But the whole plan to completely transform it into a modern, profitable, reliable network, delivering water all the time, 24/7, 365, 3,650 over 10 years going, you know, however far you want to go. Because good, proper laid pipes will last 100 years. They're using pipes in England that were there later 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago. So we have that plan. It'll cost 35 to 40 million US dollars. That plan has been presented to the government.
Okay.
I presented it to the ministers and the permanent secretary yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Right. Then, however, right now, South Hill, West End, Long Bay still ain't got no water. So, and we have one leak detection crew running off their feet. You know, people it must be understood that they could be working on a leak the foot of West End, fix it, and while they are fixing it, they get told, boys, there's a major leak in Island Harbor and the water is going 20 feet in the air. You got to get there. You even got to detect the leak because the whole water is seeing it.
Yeah.
But you got to get now from West End to there. And as you reach, you get told there's a major leak in Shoal Bay. This is what's been happening. And it's one crew with one vehicle. And here's the other thing. Here's how they detect the leaks. It's an ultrasonic detector. They have to walk along with it and listen. So they're not driving in their vehicle. They park the vehicle and they walk. And you know, if you don't pay attention, you could end up 1.5 miles down the road, 2 miles down the road from your vehicle. You got to get back to the vehicle afterward. All of this is time being taken. So what we have asked the ministry for is a subvention of close to $1 million EC for right now to hire 2 more leak detection crews, because the leaks are coming so fast and furious. You know how much fast and furious has it got? To 6 or
10. There are 10 of them.
You know they ain't 10.
It's 10.
Is 10 the truth?
Now you're talking to a Fast and Furious fan, so yeah.
Are you serious? It's 10?
It's 10.
I know when it was 6.
That was a
Long time ago. That's
In fact, I knew when it was 5 and I was in Puerto Rico when they were filming 6.
That was
Over that bridge that goes
Yes,
over
that
the
very long bridge,
they were
yes.
filming 6 there.
That's a
Or
very-
5.
That
But
is
they were
5,
filming
yeah.
5 there.
So you know they have one pretty much every year.
Right. So what I'm saying is we are getting leaks faster than they're making Fast and Furious movies. So, and you're demoralizing
the
staff.
Yeah.
A guy cannot go to bed and wake up in the morning and say, oh, geez, another day detecting leaks again. Nobody is expected to work like that, including nights and weekends. So we need 2 more such teams. And we need the vehicles to go with them.
And you need a pipe.
We need
And
the
you
pipe,
need the
the collars. No, yeah, but we're not talking about replacing the pipe yet. We're just talking about fixing this. But you do need lengths of pipe, because you may have to take out a whole length. And then they have collars or sleeves that you put over the leak and clamp it and seal it, and so on. We were also informed by the engineer that because of the lack of money, our orders are so small that the suppliers don't supply them in a timely manner. They wait until they get a big order, and then, if they get an order for 100,000 collars, and the people want, and they have 120,000, then they ship us 10 collars, and ship the other people 100,000.
In all honesty, this sounds like the perfect storm. Freddy Krueger nightmare. This can't work. Why do you still go there and try to make it work, both of you? Why do you go to your meetings every week, every month? Why you sit here knowing the figures in the dismal position in front of you and believe that we can get it work? Why do you, Mr. Kennedy Hodge, feel like water should be something we are pursuing?
Well, one, it's needed. I am very, very committed to the people of Angola. My family is living in England right now, and I get asked all the time, why am I not coming up to England to live with them? I say, because my heart is on staying in Angola and developing Angola. My daughter is graduating next week, Thursday, so I'm going to go up to her graduation. But I ain't staying. I'm coming right back. The thing is, we can't turn our backs on Angola. We've got to figure out ways of getting things better, of constantly improving things. I have come up with a whole lot of ways. The trouble is that they cost money, and accessing the funding has been a problem for Angola. Other countries seem to get the funding. I don't know why Angola has such a big problem. But
it might have something to do with the fact that we were $500 million in debt.
Well, other countries think it was 2 or 3 or 4 billion in debt. And Antigua is massively indebted as well.
But they can do business with the Chinese and Taiwanese. They can sell passports and they can do that kind of thing.
But
my co-host over here humming a tune, and I'm hearing in my ear humming a tune. But again, it boils down. I understand your heart, but why does everybody else? Why do you, Gleneva, go to these meetings, plan, get up, think about it?
Before Gleneva answers, can I say this? I've been chairman of the board. Gleneva, you're going to have to excuse me. I've been chairman of the board for August 13th. What date was it? August 13th? It wasn't a Friday, was it?
I have no
Because that might be the reason for it.
But yeah, it was sometime.
It was the first, yeah.
Somewhere in the
middle of August, yeah. I think it was the 13th.
All right.
So I was appointed chairman of the board. Now I want the people of Angola to know this. I have never been a person who thinks that I should sit on top of people forever.
Right.
And I was in Cable and Wireless. I was manager, head of engineering, and I made sure to promote people under me.
Right.
And when I was planning on leaving, long before I told the company, I told the senior staff under me that one of you guys is going to have my job in 2-3 years time. I didn't tell them why or how. I said, one of you guys is going to have my job, and this is what I need you. And I can't pick which one, because there's a process.
Right.
But I'm giving you notice that here are the things you, Ivan, need to fix. Your report writing is terrible. You have to write reports, you got to fix it. Here's the thing that you have to fix, Gleneva. You take a little too long to deliver. And I'm not actually saying, people think I'm accused. That's right, exactly.
That little clip will go out.
Right, exactly, right. So let me not use your name.
Use my name, please.
I say to one member of staff, and that person who I said, your report writing really needs to be fixed.
Uh-huh.
And every month, you're going to write reports on this, that, and that, and we're going to sit down and discuss these reports, and I'm going to mentor you into writing better reports. At the end of the 2 years, his report writing had improved. Still wasn't good reports, but it had improved out of all proportion to what was there before, and he actually got my job.
Okay, nice.
And so on. So I'm saying the Premier's brother, Griffin Webster, you probably know Asbury, Griffin, Sam, the one who was the IT,
Yes.
right, genius. He was a technician under me. And when the company was setting up an IT department, Cable and Wireless used to be a leader in a lot of stuff in Angola.
Yeah.
They set up an IT department. And also it was tasked with in implementing internet and all that kind of stuff. And Griffin was a genius, IT genius. So the company looked at establishing a new department equal to mine. So this guy who was under me would now become equal to me. And there were people who actually came to me and said, Ken, he shouldn't be allowed to become equal to you. You should push that the IT department stays under your department. You know what my response was? Why? What problem is it going to be to me?
Right.
For him to become equal to me, just how I came up in the company and got to be head of a department, why can't he?
Right.
That was and this has actually happened. And he became equal to me.
Right.
Sutcliffe Hodge came in as head of management marketing. He became equal to me, and so on. It doesn't matter. The idea is
The goal is more
the
important
goal
than the
is more
role.
important, and it's a team. And we all actually worked George Kentish, head of accounts, head of finance. We all worked head of human resources, and then Mark Romney was head of finance for a while. We all worked very, very, very well together. I don't think I'll ever see people in an organization working together like that again in my life. But here's the point I'm getting at. I informed the minister months ago, long before all of this thing now with water off and Anglic bill and so on. I informed the minister. And I cannot presume that they're going to reappoint me to the water board. I wrote the minister, and I didn't write him, I called him and I said, Minister, and I told Kareem, the permanent secretary, I said, Minister, permanent secretary, if it is that you are minded to reappoint the same board, I will not accept the post of chairman. I have been watching Gleneva as my deputy, and I think she will make an outstanding chairperson. I don't want to say chairman, chairperson.
We can't do that.
And so I have put it there. Now, I am not telling them who to appoint.
Right.
I'm simply saying that I will not be chairman of the water. The board's term comes to an end next 3 a month.
Yeah.
Today is soon July 15th,
Yeah.
so on August 13th. And even if they reappoint the same board, I will not accept the post of chairman because I've had 2 years. It's on my resume. I help to mentor other people. I've seen how they perform. It's their turn.
I'll tell you something before I go to Gleneva. I used to collect quotes. Yeah, I'm weird like that. I used to collect quotes. Yeah, I'm weird like that. I'm going to say that again. My mother actually made me read a dictionary for Hurricane Louis and stuff. So people just be like,
So you
"How
can
come?"
find other names.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a quote that came to mind when you said what you said, and I appreciate you for that. It says, "Good leadership makes itself obsolete over time."
Precisely. If you are a good leader and you need to be there, I will tell you this, Ivan. I ran for election and I really wanted to win. Not because I was so desperate to win, but because I knew what I could offer to Anguilla and I won my seat. And I could tell you this, if I were to ever become the Premier of Anguilla, I would not stay a full 5-year term. I'd ask them to make some sort of constitutional provision that after 3 to 4 years I could leave and hand over to somebody else in the ministerial grouping, because My job would be only to lead us onto the right path and heading up the right path. After that, I need to go off and spend some time doing something else. Because the group now have been directed, as you said, good leadership makes itself obsolete. And so I have told the ministers that I will not accept. And it's going to cost me a financial hit. The chairman gets paid more than the other directors. And I can ill afford it. But I am not going to make somebody else who's deserving not get it just because. And there's no guarantee that a particular person will get it, because the ministers can pick somebody else completely.
Right.
I'm simply saying, I have made it clear that I will not accept a reappointment as chairman because it's somebody else's turn. And I have made my recommendation, and that it should be Gleneva because she will make an excellent chairperson. And I say that on here because if the next thing people will say, it's just so happened that this crisis has now come right at the end of our time. And people would say, oh, Canada running from it.
Perfect stuff.
But I had discussed this with the minister 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And it is my way of operating.
I'll stop you there and I'll say this. And I'm happy that you're saying these things because vision is critical. When the Bible says where there's no vision, the people perish, people look at it as just on a church level.
No, it's a whole society.
But vision speaks to longevity and continuity, and I'm not preaching. And in a lot of areas, we suffer because of the lack of vision. Everything that I've heard you say today where water is concerned stemmed from a lack of vision. Not so much so that it was the easy thing to do, but vision to see that what I am doing now is going to impact generations to come. Even right now, the government is struggling with implementing our positioning, their vision of a reimagined Anguilla. Even right now, churches on the island is struggling with their vision. Even right now, schools are struggling with their vision. Globally, everybody is like the whole world on fire. St. Kitts
Ivan, I need to come here and talk with you and Geneva about my renewable energy vision. I have a $190 million project that completely transforms Anguilla, eliminates. Listen, Anglex fuel bill alone would pay for it in 8 years.
See, no. I sit in board meetings with Mr. Hodge, and I will tell you this. I am looking at the clock, and Ivan, I am the the clock watcher and the clock keeper.
Oh, wow, we are over. Wow.
We are well over.
Yeah, I apologize.
And I am not saying this to cut Mr. Hodge off. Not one bit. Because I can sit and listen to him speak about this because it's something that he's extremely passionate about for time. And I think it's something that we will have to bring him back and hear about this because we cannot continue. It is clear, and this is my way of wrapping up. I'm sorry.
I just had an idea. So sorry. Let me push.
Go
let me go right
go
here.
with your idea.
So I'm a creative being, and among other things, you can speak to those in the spiritual realm about that. But I see things, and I saw something just now happening. That I'll wait for it to happen, then I'll bring you back to this very same conversation. That's all I want to say.
You got to remember?
I don't forget nothing.
You serious?
I don't forget nothing.
I would say that, and unless I write it down on a piece of paper, I will never.
I don't forget.
But I say all that to say you spoke about where the world is going, and there's it's no secret. The cost of fuel is continuing to climb, to increase. Mr. Hodge has said that he has this plan that can eliminate a lot of our external reliance. And God has granted us with an abundance of sources of renewable energy. There's
sunshine and wind.
Sun, wind, and wave. We have it. We are completely surrounded by water. And so we have what it takes within us to be able to push Anguilla forward. And I will wrap up this episode because there were some questions and some comments and I didn't have a chance to respond. When you ask me, why do I keep going and why do I go? And I'll say this. We speak a lot about political footballs and stuff being kicked down the road. At the end of the day, somebody has to say it stops with me.
Okay.
Someone has to say, I do not want to pass on this problem to another generation. I have the philosophy that I want to leave this place better than I found it. Because my daughter's generation deserves to inherit an Anguilla that is better than the one that my parents left for me.
Right.
And so that is my motivation. That is what keeps me going. I don't know what Mr. Hodgson. I'll leave that one off. We will get into that in another episode.
Yeah.
But as always, this has been another informative episode of Progress Report. A lot of the information that has come out today, again, it's stuff that I've been privy to, but I think it is time that the Anguillan public becomes aware of what are the issues that we are facing as a country, as a corporation, from as it relates to water. So, Mr. Hodge, I want to thank you for taking the time, coming on here on Progress Report, and we look forward to having you back sometime in the future when we can discuss how do we move forward as it relates to renewable energy. Yeah. And hopefully by that time, Long Bay, West End, South Hill, we'll have water. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.